Boom. All right.
Boom. All right, we ready to go? Everything is everything? All right, cool. Welcome, you guys, to the listing training for Relevate this week. A few things to go over. So I started really focusing on listings maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and I've had, I want to say like 6 or 7 pretty good ones. And if I had to pick one thing as to like why I started getting listings, I don't think I could actually pick anything. I think I just told the universe basically, or myself, that I was going to start doing listings, and my mindset just kind of went towards steering conversations towards listings subconsciously somehow. But the reason why I like to focus on listings is because you get more time back in your day, in your life, in your work schedule, and you have more freedom to do all those other things that we like to do, right? And so statistically, they say on average listings take about 10 hours of your time, whereas buyers take about 40 hours of your time. And so I really like kind of like 4-to-1 ratio of, same business for less amount of time, so I'm getting more out of my work schedule. Another reason why I like listings is because you can kind of control the market a little bit. There's a lot of people that are still listing houses that are like outrageously overpriced, and I'm not going to say that I'm not one of those, because we all know how my appraisals have gone. But you can kind of control how the market goes a little bit, which is something that a lot of the listing focused people like to kind of focus on. How I attract more listings, I think, is by doing open houses and really just kind of steering every conversation towards listings some way or another. Open houses, I like to focus on, I've been focusing on this area here, so like Inglewood, Old Town Littleton, really more towards the east side of Santa Fe as opposed to the west side in Littleton. It's a little older neighborhood, a little higher priced homes, kind of smaller, more kind of quaint houses. And I've been focusing on higher price points, so higher price point buyers, targeting those as opposed to last year I targeted a lot of first-time home buyers, right? So you get a first-time home buyer, boom, they're great, you sell them a house, everything is hunky-dory, right? If you get a higher price point buyer, a lot of times they have to sell a house, right? So kind of 2-for-1 deal. I like doing work that brings me lots of business as opposed to one thing that brings me one thing. So higher price point in the area that I want to work in. And so, for instance, this past weekend, I did an open house. It was like 500,000 price point. So probably 20 people came through, and 2 of the gals actually had homes to list, and I set up listing appointments, and I set up a listing appointment, and hopefully we'll be listing their house next weekend. The other gal, she has a lot of work to do on her home before I think it's ready to list for the price that she wants, but it's cool because she is willing to do that and knows that she needs to get done before the spring. So open houses, higher price point buyers, kind of turned into listings. Door knocking for open houses or in your farm area is what I really like to do, especially those houses that are in that higher price point. So say you did 300 or 400 or something like that, right? You're going to get, you're obviously going to sell their house, but the buyers that you get off of their sign are probably going to be first-time home buyers, so they also don't need to sell their house. But say you did 500 or 600, the people that are going to be calling on that sign likely have a house to sell, and if they're unrepresented, you get to help them with both. Bonus. Facebook posts for higher price point buyers. So just kind of the same realm of focusing on higher price point buyers. They have a house to sell. Past clients and friends that you didn't sell a house to. So I've been in this for 5 years. This is my 5th year. So a few of the people from the very beginning are turning over and needing to sell their houses, which is kind of, ego boosting that they still love me and call me and want me to sell their house. But also, if you've only been in a couple of years, or maybe you've just started, knowing that your friends that have houses, right? You can look them up on Realist, find out when they bought their house and start sending them anniversary cards, or, hey, you know, I have this great new system that kind of tells you what your house might be worth and what it might take to sell it, you know, things like that, that you can email them. So you didn't necessarily sell their house, but you could help them, or you didn't help them buy their house, but you can sell it, help them sell it. And then obviously they would have something else to buy, and they already love you because they're friends. And then once you get those listings, capitalizing on the listing that you have to get more listings. So open houses, like I said. So from an open house on your own listing, I think you need to like double, triple down on the things that you do, because when they drive by, the reason why I don't like to like door knock and hand out a bunch of flyers for open houses for somebody else's listing, right, is because multiple times I've had people drive by and call the number on the sign, which is not my number, but somebody else's number, and they got to help those people as opposed to me if it was my listing. Not saying do less, but I'm just saying maybe capitalize on your own stuff. So open houses, especially if it's your listing, door knock, flyers, I send out these. So this one, I don't know if you can see it, is a for sale. It was my friend's listing in Longmont, which I'm going to start referring out because nobody wants to drive up there. And then it has photos on the back, a little description, and then the catch is don't miss out on this wonderful opportunity to make this home yours. Call me to schedule a showing. And then this one is just sold. So this is one that I did in Roxborough, kind of Littleton, but it's far away and not a lot of people want to live there. But it says, call me if you're ready for next level service. That was the call to action there. It has photos of the home. So it's really just proof of production. But if you think about it, when I got the listing and I door knocked with a for sale by owner or just list or for sale or just listed, right? They saw my face, they saw my marketing. And then I did the open house. They saw my signs. They probably saw me at the open house, what have you. And then I saw they got the dish sold in the mail. They see my face again. They're like, man, this gal is doing a lot of stuff in this area, even though it's just this one house that I've marketed to, right? They've just seen me multiple times. And I really am starting to focus on the area that I want to do business in, which I think is a benefit to me because I can talk more about the neighborhood. So like this open house that I did just this past weekend, that was probably one of my more successful open houses. We talked about how there's a ridiculous number of parks on the corner. Every park in this neighborhood is connected to each other, like by green space, but there are 4 different parks. And we had to joke about how one's Cornerstone, one's Bellevue, one's this other park. And we're like, it's the same park, but there's like 4 different, anyway, we could talk about the neighborhood, right? And you could talk about Old Town and like the great shops that are in there, and the alley, and history about like Adelita's right there and how she came up from that. It was crazy, but anyway, we could talk about the neighborhood. Now, if I was in Longmont doing an open house, which I did before, I know nothing about that neighborhood. I can't talk to it. I don't know it. And then it kind of looks like I don't know what I'm doing, right? Like this lady's selling a house. She doesn't know the neighborhood, whatever, right? So I've been really focusing on the area that I want to work in. Plus, I kind of call it like lazy real estating, right? Because for my open house, I literally had to drive 5 minutes. I set out my signs. It's much easier. When I'm done, it takes me 5 minutes to pick them back up. I know the area. The office is right here. You know, it just makes it easier. So I would say time-wise, picking your area is something close to either where the office is, or don't be picking my area, or where you live.
She's got a claim. I'm
staking it. Or where you live, because then you know that area, right? You're probably seeing them, people from the open house, you might see them at the store or, you know, at the park or at an event, right? And then you kind of creating mind share, and they're like, oh yeah, that's that realtor that we saw at the open house or something like that, right? So the things that I like to focus on, to recap, right, are higher price points in the area that I want to work in. So then I'm getting listings in the area that I want to work in, and I know that area, and really just capitalizing on time for production, right? So if I'm focusing on higher price point buyers, I'm probably getting 2 for 1, right? And if I'm focusing on open houses in the area that I want to work in, I'm not driving an hour to an open house or half an hour to an open house to a neighborhood that I don't know about. So I'm more easily able to talk about the neighborhood and things going on in the neighborhood, and I know what's going on in this area because I'm calling everybody to get their open houses, right? So really just putting out there that into the universe or whatever you believe or into your mindset or whatever, that you're going to start focusing on listings, and subconsciously your mind will just start going towards making conversations about listings, right? So then your focus is on listings, your marketing is on listings, and eventually it'll start clicking off. And for whatever reason, when I said I was going to start doing listings, like 4 of my friends called me to list their house. Now, would that have happened had I not said that to the universe? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know, right? But really just putting your goals out there and figuring out how to make them happen. And so that's kind of how I made all my listings happen. And yeah, it's pretty cut and dry. I mean, there's a whole thing in the Relevate team training about what to do once you get that listing appointment, but I feel like we all kind of know that and can read that and watch those videos. And so this was more so about how to attract more listings. Does anybody have any questions? It looks like there's something on the chat, but I think we answered those maybe.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Close the door.
It is closed.
Sorry about that, Mark. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that's basically what I had, is basically just, focusing on your area and making sure you're capitalizing on your return for the time that you put in.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Has anybody used this guide at all yet?
No.
Listing your home? No?
It's new. I don't know if anybody said anything about it.
Well, Tara slacked about it. So this can be, we'll have a buyer one as well. They're in the admin office. We've got a ton of them. I'm interested in your feedback. How does it look? How's it work? Do you like the order? Do you like the content? But I think this is just the two-page little guide we had to go through at a listing appointment with people. Just didn't look very good. It wasn't very comprehensive. I know Thomas has used this, and he said he actually used it digitally, which I can share with you. He said he just walked right through it, and on some pages he didn't focus very much. Know your numbers. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about that. But our next steps, let me really focus on that. So I think it can be a good resource for you. I think it looks good. It conveys to them like uniformity and consistency, and like we've done this before. But it also guides the appointment, which probably for a lot of you've done several appointments, and so you may not need it for the agenda. But
I think on that note,
sparkle.
I feel like it's good to do, because then you can go through, like I've had some listing appointments that were literally like 8 minutes long, and they just agreed to everything I said, and I was like initially I left and I was super excited about it because I put the lockbox on their door, but then I was like, oh, there's all these things that I didn't address that might come up later, and they didn't really, but they could have, like what you need to do to get your home ready, right? It's not just like all on us and like our photos and all this stuff, and then really going through like the stuff that we do, like the photos and the marketing and all this stuff. And I didn't do that, right? And so what if somebody came up and was like talking to her about it after I had left, maybe that guy would have won, maybe because I didn't really address all the things. Or she just agreed with everything I said, and I was super excited to get the listing I said.
Well, and hopefully it sits on our coffee table, and it's just another touch.
Her friends come over and are like, what?
I've got 4 listings myself that I need to. Mark, I'm curious for you, as you've done listings in the past, have you used a guide at all? What has worked?
I really haven't. And the odd thing is most of my listings are Sphere, and they're just slam dunks. It's not even a listing.
Right.
It's just taking an order.
They just believe in you.
Yeah, you know, but I love that guide though. It's really cool. And like Gigi says, it helps keep you on track in the conversation to really get in and start explaining the process to these guys, because, you know, as she also said, somebody else could come in after you and sound, you know, more knowledgeable about the process, and thus, you know, you lose the listing because you didn't go through your own guide.
Mhm.
Yep.
There you go.
Good stuff.
Deanna, got any thoughts?
You have these.
Yeah.
Where did you get these, or how did you get those set up?
Oh, land title. I work with land title. And so they'll pull a list for you. And I want to say each one was like, I sent out 250 and it was like $140.
Are
They
those
pulled a
mailers,
list.
or did you door knock with those?
This one was a mailer because it was in Longmont, and I didn't want anything from it other than to like, hey, come look at this house with your realtor. I'm not driving up there.
Right.
But this one was in Roxborough, so I door knocked with this one. Like, hey, I just sold your neighbor's house. What's up? Let's go.
Perfect.
But yeah, I think door knocking, when they mail them out, it's like, to just get them printed, it's like 30 some cents or a piece maybe, and depending on how many you get. For them to mail it out, it's like 60 cents or something. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But they're nice. They're good quality. I've had these floating around my office for a little bit.
Do you come up with the design and then they just put it together, and do you have to approve?
They have a few designs, and then they have Keller Williams specific colors. But I don't know. These were my first few that I did, and I wanted something a little jazzier. Like this one has kind of cutesy writing, you know, and I was like, oh, that's, you know, cute. It's kind of my style. But then, you know, if you think about it, Mindshare, you want it to look the same every time. And so this one I would probably change. So just so that I'd probably change something black and red, you know, the Keller Williams colors or whatever, or maybe a Relevate colors. And then they're constantly seeing me, and this is the one that I use, and it's easier. And yeah.
Will you walk before the open house with a just listed postcard like that?
Yeah, I could do that. That's a good idea. I usually do my open house, like, hey, come and invite people to the open house. So I door knock a couple times, like the just listed, or coming soon. I've done like a coming soon one before and door knocked with it. And then once it comes out live, and then doing the open house, and I door knock with my open house flyer. So they're just seeing me all the time. And they're like, I'm going to sell my house so this lady stops coming to my door.
That's the contract.
Out of the neighborhood.
If you work
I'm
with me.
leaving. That's cute.
I get 10 houses.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but they'll create them for you, and then they send you a proof, and then they mail them out. The one thing is that if it's a just listed, you want to get it out pretty soon, because like even during your coming soon time, because it goes snail mail. So like they send it to the post office, and then the post office gets it, and it takes a couple of days, and then they mail it out.
Sweet.
Cool.
Well, thank you guys for showing up on Halloween.
Yeah.
Boo. What are y'all dressing up as tonight?
I'm going as a realtor.
Are you?
So like pajamas.
I'll be in a-
and, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, a realtor working from home.
I'll be in a sling.
You'll be on a plane? You're not going to dress
In a
up on the
sling.
plane?
In a sling.
Oh, in a sling. What did you do to your shoulder?
I have no idea. I have to go to the doctor in a little bit, but I'll
That's-
find out soon and let you guys know.
Is that contagious?
yeah.
Yeah, maybe you got it from me. I was in a
Think
sling
so.
last week.
Wanna catch
I'll be an injured realtor working from home.
Pajamas and a
We
sling.
all have the same costume, guys.
Right?
What are you guys doing?
Well, I'll keep you updated on my house.
I guess
Yeah.
I'm trick-or-treating with a ninja.
You are?
I am.
Oh,
Just
nice.
got one kid who's trick-or-treating?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's in Texas, so.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, very cool.
I'm staying home and watching Netflix, you guys. That's what I'm going to be.
It's just another Thursday night.
It's, yeah.
I'm dressed as Chewbacca.
Are you?
Yeah.
Good video, exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
That's
pretty
fun.
sweet.
Thanks, Gigi. Bye.
Yeah. Let me know if you guys have questions later.
See you guys.
Bye.
Okay.
It's a home family.
Alexander's a race car driver. Nice.
whole family dressing up as Star
No,
Wars tasting? No.
no,
What?
we just, you want to